Hello YouTube, this is Tammy Pie and I'm back with another video. This is just gonna be tarot. It's gonna be tarot, and some more tarot times tarot, and then we're gonna top it off with some tarot because I got a hurt hand and I am obsessive. Okay. All right, so not too long ago, maybe a month ago, I think, Marlena Teresa put up a video, and I'll link it. Now that I've discovered linking videos, she put up a video called Tarot Stacking. Is this a thing? And honestly, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh yes, it's a thing. It's super a thing. That is one of my early tarot adventures was on Instagram. Kelly Fitzgerald of the Truth and Story and Patrick Fogarty of the Living Wheel did a thing called tarot, #tarot perspectives, I want to say. Might have been something else, but basically what it was like taking one card and comparing it to the same card in another deck. Okay? So I believe what Marlena was doing was taking some more difficult decks and then kind of stacking it up with decks that were not as difficult or, in fact, quite simple. For those of us who read RWS, Marseilles, Thoth, whatever, and are looking at something that might be a little complex. Okay, so what I did was kind of this times 10 or maybe built out. So I've got this reading, which I pulled, I want to say 2 or 3 days ago. And, some of us do this too. We will pull cards and then just let the cards sit on the tarot table, ruminate on it, as it were. So what we have here is the 9 of Earth, or 9 of Pentacles. We have the Father of Wind, which would be the King of Swords, and the 4 of Water, which is 4 cups, right? Okay, hang on. So let's just for a second look at these, which are much clearer to our RWS readers, okay? 9 Pentacles, King of Swords, 4 of Cups, right? So we got the wealthy woman in the garden with her bird. We've got the abrupt king, Mr. Logical. And we've got the fellow under the tree. It looks to me like he does see this cup. A lot of times it seems like he's not seeing what is offered to him, or with the body language there, he's not wanting what is offered to him, right? Okay, hang on just one more second. So one of the books that I'm working through right now is The Living Tarot by Susan Chang. Okay. And it's kind of a book for beginners, kind of, but Susan Chang has one of these, to me, beautiful intellectual voices as far as tarot goes. So for me, working through a beginner book written by Susan Chang gives you a level up no matter what. All right. So I'm pretty early in the book. I'm just on chapter 1, but it's a workbook. It's a book that, I'm writing in it in pen. I have no guilt whatsoever about it. I bought the book. It's a workbook and I'm writing in it. I'm also using the back for notes where it says notes. Nobody ever uses those. I do. Okay, so one of the exercises in chapter 1 is I forget what she calls this, tarot stacking even, or layering. So Marlena said tarot stacking, which is different levels of understanding in the tarot, right? And T. Susan Chang is saying layering. And what she suggests as the layers is the visual layer, what we see, right? A lady in a yard with a bird. The mood. What is this guy's mood? He seems pretty calm here, right? He seems less so. He seems but like protecting himself. Other people. Okay, so what T. Susan Chang is talking about is when you pick a card of the day, how do you see that card? Very often people are like, well, it's a prediction. I'm going to be rich today. I'm going to get broken down by somebody who has no empathy today, or I'm going to be offered something I don't want today, or whatnot. But it doesn't have to be either predictive or bossy. It can just be tarot in your life. Okay, so when you're learning tarot, and yeah, I was inspired to go back to the beginning by a couple people lately. Some wrote beginners and others who are experts in the field. Sometimes we go back to the very beginning and say, how did I feel when I was learning this, right? Body language. That's some free and easy body language. This is a guy who's, if he were a modern man, he'd be dressed in a 3-piece suit, carrying a briefcase with his hat on even, right? This body language is very much a part of this card. He's got his arms crossed in front of him. That's a body language moment. Or the content, okay? And when we go back to this one, again, I was having a discussion on YouTube in the comments with some people about how this is a deck. This is Tarot of the Spirit by Pamela and Joyce Eakins. Very much based in Kabbalah, okay, or Kabbalah. So here we have 9 perfectly shaped stars in a perfectly shaped square. Everything is bright and open. And if you were to think of the tree of life here, right? So this is where content is going to come in. But there's content in this simple, easygoing deck too, right? So let's look at something a little more difficult. Let's look at some Marseilles. Oh, isn't that neat and clean how that fits right there? All right. So Marseille is a little different in a way. I mean, tarot is tarot, but here we've got this king is a little younger. He still is kind of seated halfway, almost looking like he's gonna get up in a minute. Okay. He's got his sword, which is sticking straight up. So he has definite opinions, right? We got our 4 cups evenly spaced with a little bloom coming out, right? We've got 2 times 4 here with this thing growing in the middle, all right? So we have this very kind of direct, even though he's not looking at you directly, but kind of a direct king, right? He may or may not be getting up to get something done, but he will let you know with no softness what he thinks. And they're between these two soft suit, kind of even keeled cards. Now, the 9 here, even though it looks very even, it also has this bit in the middle here, which kind of strengthens it, right? So if when it's an 8, it's rolling around, with the 9, that cog there solidifies it, okay? So you've got a solid situation. Here in the 4, you don't have crossed arms, but you do have 4 stable cups sitting up, right? So this could make you think of table legs or the wheels of a car even. But it's cups, it's the emotional suit. So stability in emotion. So I'm done talking about this. I am an expert in my field, and we're going to do it my way. Maybe. Here's another. This is not Marseilles. This is a pip card. And this is Tarocchi Vetrate, or the window tarot, the stained glass tarot by Luigi Scapini. So here, our sword is now pointing down. The king is very definitely the king of air. He got the clouds in the window, and he's a father, okay? So this might be kind of a teaching moment. Similar, but not the same. Here we have the 9 pentacles, but they are arranged in a different way. And look at the sweet colors, the pink and the gold. Very kind of gentle, sweet, but busy, right? Busy. A lot of blossoming going on. All right. And then here in the 4, already this stability is losing its integrity, right? Because when we have stability, the next thing that happens is a 5. So 4, 5, 6. So we're going to have stable cups. One of those cups is going to tip over. Then we're going to have the 5 of cups, which is that whole, the 5s are always, that's a point, right? A point of change. And then the 6, where we learn from our mistakes. All right? Hang on just a second. All right, here we go. Now we've got Thoth. Okay, so we got the Lord of Gain. All right, beautiful card. To me, one of my favorite cards in Thoth, because of this beautiful blue-green kind of. It's to me a very delicious looking card, right? So this is, what is this? Venus in Virgo. Is that what it is? I think it is. All right. So it's this beautiful moment of being incredibly self-assured, right? And then you have, okay, I'm giving you the Knight of Swords because that's where in Thoth the knights sit, is where the kings in the rest of the decks traditionally are, okay? So this knight he's got his helicopter wings. He's on his horse. He's speeding down towards the earth, all right? This is heir of air, okay? He's got a long rapier and a smaller sword. So he is in the business of letting you know. And then here we have the Lord of Luxury in the Four of Cups. Again, I love this card. This is so cool. Look at the little lotus upside down, dumping into the cups. The cups are full, they're bright, they're shining, and we know this can't be sustained, right? So this luxurious knowing and traveling down to give this knowledge to someone else, but this cannot be sustained. All right, so I'm going to give you one more deck, and it's just because it's my current kind of obsession, and that is Welkin's Star Trek Tarot, the original series. Okay, hang on just a second. Okay. This is one of my favorite episodes of Star Trek ever. And it's such an interesting one. I believe in the other Star Trek, the original series one, this is the wheel, because they jump through here into another time. And actually, how it happens is neither here nor there. But this woman, this really cool actress, I forget what else she was in, but she was in a bunch of stuff in the late 60s, early 70s, and she's a really like solid actress, you know, beautiful but not dependent upon her beauty, which sometimes some of them were. I mean, there were some great stars that showed up in Star Trek. Terry Garr, Charles Bronson's wife, what was her name? Anyway, so it was a really great episode with a very strong female lead, which is something that I loved in Star Trek, because those were the days of not that strong women up there, right? And we were just starting to be into this in on television, where we wanted to see not Beaver Cleaver's mom, but we wanted to see or Jeannie, or you know, the forever oppressed witch in Bewitched. Samantha was always, oh, I'm sorry, I'm using my magic. Fuck, use your magic, baby, use it. So this woman is she's running a what do you call it? A soup kitchen, let's say. Okay, and she runs into Spock and Kirk and kind of busts them right away, right? When they do these Star Trek episodes where they go back in time and they're in the world, they're always trying to like disguise themselves as part of that time, and it rarely works out for Spock because he's got pointy ears and a funny haircut, whatever. Okay, so she busts him pretty quick. There's a whole romantic situation that takes place between Kirk and the lead, because that's how it usually went. Not always. Sometimes it was Spock, sometimes it was McCoy. I think once it was even Scotty, but anyway. So Kirk really falls for her, but they figure out that this woman will actually lead the country in not fighting the Second World War. She will get them to actually work for peace, and this will cause a bunch of other like horrible shit to happen, because sometimes you gotta have that tower moment in order to have the good stuff that comes afterwards, the good stuff that comes from it. Okay, so they realize that they have to allow her to die, because the good that she the good that she works for, her work turns into something that stops a war that actually changes things for the better. All of that to say, so here we have 9 of Pentacles lady, right? And who's this? Who's in her hand? Oh, it's Kirk, I think. Yeah. So she's holding Kirk, and he has to. They somehow find newspaper clips or television clips from the future that would happen should she live, and realize that it is going to become like the end of humanity if she does. So he has to stand back and let it happen, and it's so dramatic. Okay. And then here, this episode, and I'm sorry if you can't stand the nerdiness of Star Trek, but this is what I'm obsessed with. My hand hurts, so I'm reading and watching Star Trek, and this is what I do. So in this episode, these guys get beamed down to like a freezing cold planet or something, where they end up in caves. I forget exactly how it happens, but I do remember that Spock makes some decisions which Mr. Logical, and this is the king of logic, right? The 14 will be the king. And even though this is green, it's logic. It's the, so this is will, which is the pentacles. Logic is the swords. So his logic doesn't always come out the right way. And I think what they say is humans have an amazing capacity for believing what they choose and excluding that which is painful. But what happens is, oh no, that's from another one. Never mind. But what happens is he realizes that he can't just think with his logical brain. He has to make some other decisions with the other parts of his mind, okay? So it's this deep realization that makes this card very interesting in this deck. And then this 4 of, what do they call it? Emotions, 4 of feeling. Okay. So the children shall lead. These are a bunch of kids who are emotionally stunted. They don't really realize what has happened to their parents. All the adults have been killed. And what happens is this guy, this Gorgon guy, comes and is their best buddy. And he says, you guys are going to be the new leaders of the world. I will help you make everything great. And he gives them kind of this weird power of being able to make the adults on the Enterprise see their own fears. And they have no empathy, which is really interesting. It's like you have to have been sad in order to have empathy. Very interesting. This part of the 4 of Cups, which is protectiveness, which is maybe I don't want to feel the pain, so I will hurt someone else first, or simply not look at it at all. And we all know what happens when you suppress pain, right? It comes out in shitty ways. You end up doing shitty things to the people who care about you because they're the ones that hang around you, right? Very interesting moment in the 4 of Cups. All right, I'm gonna go back to the beginning here, just a second. So the whole point to this, we're back to Tarot of the Spirit. The whole point to this tarot layering is so that when you have a deck, I think the point for me, when you have a deck that's a little more difficult to kind of just get, right? I mean, you could read intuitively here. You could look at, deep in this picture, you can see that here's a guy on a horse riding, right? There is a guy there. Here are 4 cups. But it isn't your traditional imagery, so you're not going to exactly get the same stuff out of it, right? So I've stacked on a whole bunch of other things that may help with this, the meaning of this reading, which I've sat with for a few days, right? And you could do that. You can sit with meaning. One of the things that T. Susan Chang says in Living Tarot, just in the very beginning of the book, and the reason I love her is because she's got such an interesting, friendly, but intellectual way of looking at tarot. She says you don't have to make it a prediction. You're going to get rich, someone's going to be mean to you, and you're going to not want to do something or accept something. It doesn't have to be, some bossy situation. You need to be appreciative of your stuff. You need to get logical today, and you need to estimate what someone is offering you emotionally. Tarot doesn't have to be bossy. It's an invitation to look at all the different things that these cards can mean and take out of that a little bit of something here and a little bit of something there. It doesn't have to always be the same exact thing. It's a little of everything all the time, everywhere, right? So now we have this beautiful 9, which is, this stable situation, this brightness, this earthly stability and superchargedness going into the earth, that last Sephiroth, right? The strength of all the other bits of the tree of life right there on the surface. And it's offering you this king, this amazing king who's riding along, and he is looking at both sides of his intellect, right? He is checking out back and forth. If this card were moving, he'd be galloping along, looking all around, right? And then you have this beautiful 4 of water where we got these full cups, and they can't stay full. If you add another drop to them, they'll overflow. So you want to overflow them into this nice pond here. Let's go ahead and accept that sweet emotional knowledge and stability and pour it down in there, right? Okay. So in the end, I guess what my main theme here is that you can take these kind of difficult images and compare them to something you're a little more familiar with. Do a little bit of reading. You don't have to read every single thing that's in every book. I'm telling you, this guidebook is really intense. So reading about every single card or reading the whole book through that is quite the exercise. But if you just start with, say, reading about the Fool, reading about the Magician, sometimes you never make it through. So if you just pick a couple of cards, or even just one card, and take that one card and look at a bunch of different other aspects of it that are given by other tarot authors, you might find that your onion skin learning will grow exponentially. You will multiply. I promise you, you will. Okay? So that is it for today, and thank you for coming.